Hello everyone, my name is Amber. Welcome or welcome back to my channel, Amber Reads Romance. So today I am continuing my vlogs where I am actually going through Rina Kent's backlist. I've seen her have a lot of hype, and a lot of people on Instagram that I follow have been liking her newer books. And it's like a second generation kind of series. So I wanted to go back to the beginning and read the parents or go through any of her backlists. So I did do a vlog previously. I will link that down below. And that has my thoughts in vlogging the first 3 books. Now, I did already read those 3 books, but I felt like I needed to do a reread because there were so many twists and turns and so much drama going on and reveals, and I totally forgot a lot of it because I haven't read it for a few years. So I did read the first 3 books that is surrounding Aiden and Elsa. That is a bully, crazy, over-the-top romance. Aiden is amazing. There's a lot that goes on in those books, so if you're interested in what I think, you can check down below. But he was definitely giving me major Carter Mahoney vibes, which is one of my favorites. So I really enjoyed that. I ended up giving the full series 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. And it was great to revisit those. So for this vlog, I don't know if I'm going to do more than 1 book. I might just do 1 book. I'm not positive. Rina Kent's backlist is pretty long to get to her current books. So I don't know if I'm going to do vlogs for every single book or mini book reviews. But I plan on filming this entire process. So we'll see if I stick with vlogging for all those books or not. I don't know. It's a pretty big commitment, but I will for sure at least do mini book reviews or something. I don't know. It's ongoing. We'll see how it goes. But I am reading the 4th book in the series, and that is going to be Black Knight. Now, Black Knight is about Aiden's best friend, Xander, and Elsa's best friend, Kimberly. And obviously, we're introduced to them in the other 3 books. But surprisingly, we don't really know a lot about what happened in their past because Xander hates Kimberly now. They were childhood friends, really close, and something happened, and he hates her and, has previously stated, he will never forgive her. So, I don't know what happened. It better not be stupid or some dumb ass reason, because that happens a lot in bully romances where it's the reason they were bullying them or hated them is pretty lame or weak. And so I'm hoping that's not the case. Otherwise, I'll have some definite thoughts on this. But so we haven't really known a lot about their back history. All we do is we see, Xander completely bullying our poor Kimberly, who has a lot going on in her life. And we don't really know what's going on with Xander. He's a super hot soccer player. He's blonde. He's gorgeous. He's super popular. He's part of those 4 group of guys that are really popular and run the school. And Kimberly was actually plus-size heroine. She's a curvier heroine. But she was bullied harshly about her weight. She's been picked on so bad. So she ends up coming back from I don't know if it was the summer or some kind of retreat she went to, and she had lost a bunch of weight. And Xander, for some reason, is fucking infuriated about that, in the other books, that she lost weight and she's fake and all this stuff. And it's just stupid. I'm hoping I'm going to be okay with this because Xander kind of pisses me off. But open mind here. So I'm going to start reading this book. I'm excited to dive into it and see how I'm going to feel. I hope there's going to be some good reveals and see what I think about Xander and Kimberly. So I will check back in with you once I've gotten a little bit further into the book and give you my first thoughts. Hey guys, so I am about 30% through Black Knight. I'm sucked into it. That's what I love about Rina Kent's writing is it's very fast paced. She sucks you into the story and I'm having a hard time putting it down. So I am actually enjoying it. Although there are a lot of triggers in this book that I think is important to mention. I know Rina did mention in the beginning that this is like one of her most emotional books she had written at that date, at least. So I do want to bring up some of those triggers, but first off, this is between Kimberly and Xander. I was kind of questioning if I was going to be okay with this romance because I wasn't really liking Xander for the last 3 books and how he bullied and treated Kimberly. Because she was a plus size heroine, and the way she was bullied because of her weight, I really hated that, and that he would like call her disgusting or say just such condescending things to her. And so I was like, how am I going to buy into them as a couple? They were childhood friends. Like, they lived right next door to each other. They were like best friends. And the prologue really kind of broke my heart because it starts out with them like at like 6 years old, I think. And they're best friends, and she happens to see him like chasing his mom's car. She basically abandons her family, abandons him, and she's leaving, and he is chasing her down the street saying he'll be good, please don't leave. He like breaks down like bawling, and it was just really sad. So you can kind of see where he might have had some of these issues. So that was the intro. And then now we basically have more of seeing what's going on with them. At this point, I still don't know why he hates her. We've been wondering for 3 books, why does he hate Kimberly? What did she do that was so unforgivable? And I'm hoping it's a decent, like a good like plot and a good reason for him to hate her, because a lot of times in bully romance, it's like a really dumb reason that they're bullying the chick, and that's why it doesn't really work for me. And your heart just breaks for Kimberly because she has so much going on in her life. She is a horrible mother. Her father is good to her, but he's never there. So he's basically like an absent father that's never there. And the mother is a artist, but she spends all her time like in her studio. Kimberly has a younger brother that they're both very neglected by their mother. So Kimberly's life is basically her little brother. She takes him to school. She takes care of him. She takes him to like the soccer games at her school with her. So he like is everything to her. So the mother is very abusive to Kimberly emotionally, because Kimberly has an eating disorder. So that's the big trigger on here. There are 2 big triggers: her eating disorder, and also she cuts. We haven't seen too much of the cutting. It's just referenced. I don't know if she cuts or if she might have even just tried to kill herself, because she brings up a time that she did it and that her brother had found her, and she does have a slit like on her wrist. So I think like, you know, it must have been like a really bad cut that she did, or who knows, maybe she was trying to end things. The mom is so abusive to her, like is always on her to lose weight. She's not skinny enough. So the worst scene is where she like literally makes her weigh herself like in front of her. And she has it out like by the kitchen or the dining room or something. And then she like berates her daughter for not losing enough weight. And she tells her if she doesn't lose this much weight within a week, that she's going to send the little brother off to like a boarding school in a way. And so Kimberly is basically not eating. And then she purges herself. Like she'll throw up everything that she eats. So it's really hard when you're in her head and seeing all her mental, like what she's going through, and then to see Xander bully her and be mean to her. That's what's really hard, and I don't know how I'm going to get behind him as a hero, because he's a fucking mess. He also another trigger for like alcoholism, because this boy is drinking himself into a stupor all the time. He's drinking a lot just to get through his life, and so I'm pretty worried. I think he's got alcoholism going on here, and his mom had abandoned him, and he has like a father that's high up, and so he's just, you know. So right now it's still like kind of going into that. He is bullying her still, but he's very possessive where he doesn't want her around anybody else. She's become really good friends with Ronan, who is a friend that I really love. He's like the party boy, life of the party, funny, but you could tell there's a lot more deeper to him under the surface. So I really like his character, and he's always there for Kimberly, which is sweet. So it's kind of tough because there's just a lot going on emotionally with Kimberly, and I hope that we get some info on why he hates her, because I don't get it. I don't get it. So, oh, and he ended up getting drunk at a party. He was like texting her all this stuff, really mean stuff about how well he knows her, and just the things that he was saying was like really cruel, but like accurate, where it like he was saying accurate things, but in a really cruel way to Kimberly, and shows how much he knows her. And then she ends up going to that party, and he is obliterated, like wasted beyond. And he ends up kissing her. And it's the first time they've kissed, and he goes after it hard with her, and she's kind of, whoa, you know, where's this coming from? And then he like rips himself away from her, and he's like, don't you ever dare tempt me again. And she's like, what? Like, tempt you? And then he tells her she's disgusting or something, or he can't, like, he doesn't want to look at her face, like some cruel fucking shit after that. And I'm just like, I don't know how much more of this I could take of this guy. So we'll see. Hopefully we find out in a little bit why he hates her, because I need that info now. But I will check back in with you once I'm like halfway through the book or a little bit more. And hopefully we'll have some more answers, and I'll start liking Xander more, because right now it's not good. Hey guys, so this book is very heavy and dealing with some major dark subject matter. I'm a little over 50% through, halfway through the book, but something really traumatic just happened, so I thought I would do an update. But first, let me backtrack to where I left off. So we finally find out why Xander hates Kimberly, and it's from something that happened when they were kids. I think they were 11, and he previously, okay, so Aiden, from the hero from the first 3 books, was kidnapped by Elsa's father as like revenge against his father, her father, but they accidentally kidnapped his best friends too. So Xander was one of those friends that got kidnapped, but they got rid of them, but like Xander was like stuck out in the woods for a long time and had to find his way, and so he kind of had like some trauma from that. So why he can't forgive Kimberly is because they were like 11, and she was getting butthurt that he was like kind of ditching her for Aiden, his other friend. And so she kind of played a trick on him, where she said their cat had gotten lost out in the woods or whatever, and it was super cold out there, and so she sent him out there, and he wasn't back yet. And then she started to freak out, thinking, oh, what if he gets like worried, like because of what happened to him. And she tries to find him. She gets her dad and uncle to help her, and they couldn't find him for like hours. She finally finds him, and he looked kind of like out of it, and he like pushes her away and was like, you don't get to say my name anymore, you disgust me, kind of thing. And that was the end of their friendship. So I think there's more to that, obviously, from like Xander's perspective, but that's what we learned from Kimberly. And so Xander is not in a good place. He's majorly addicted to alcohol. He drinks to cope and like deal with things, and he's like getting drinks, like doing underground fighting. Like it's not good. He can't handle Kimberly being like friends with Ronan. Ronan flirts with her and makes it worse to try and get him to do something, because he knows Xander is like into her but won't go for it or like get over his shit. And so like Ronan says he's gonna take her out on a date. They were actually, before he tells him he's taking her on a date, him and Kimberly were like hugging and like tickling and whatever, And Xander literally rips Ronan off of her and just starts beating the shit out of him. And he refers to himself as War. Like, he kind of sees himself as like this agent of war, and like he's just so in a dark headspace. And Ronan is just like fucking with him, like completely fucking with him to get a response. And so he ends up taking her out on a date, taking selfies and like texting him and stuff and fucking with him. So Xander gets like completely drunk again, and Aiden and his friend come over to try to like be there for him or whatever. And he ends up dreaming, at least he thinks he's dreaming, about Kimberly, because her brother is still really close to him and he'll go over to his house all the time. So after she left on the date, her little brother went over to his house and like spent the night. So when she found out, she went over there to get him, and Aiden and Cole go in and tell her like he's in trouble, he needs you. And so she goes in there, and she happened to like be petting his hair, and he thinks it's a dream, but she's really there. So like he's saying all the things that he never says about how he's calling her green, because he used to call her green from her green eyes, and that green was her favorite color, and he's refused to call her that for years. And he's like telling her all these sweet things and making out with her and all this stuff, and she's like, can't believe this is happening. He literally like undresses her. He talks about how he hates the fake Kimberly because she's like tried to lose weight and change her appearance. He likes the real Kimberly and to be beautiful like she always was. And then he like goes down on her and they pass out. He wakes up still thinking it's a dream, which is kind of okay. He must be really drunk. Still thinking it's a dream, and she like gives him a blowjob, and like he still thinks it's a dream, and then he mentions something like that, and she's like, wait, what? And her little brother like comes in, and he realizes it was real, and instead of acknowledging what he did, he gives her a cold shoulder. This whole other side thing happens. She's down there getting stuff with her little brother and him, and his dad comes in. And then she kind of acknowledges how like much her little brother looks like his dad more than like he looked like his dad. And like her dad was like doting on her little brother. And so now she's like, what the fuck? Like, is he like my little brother's real dad? And you never know with her mom, because her mom is so fucking evil, which I'm going to get to in a sec. So he basically denies her. She goes, you're not going to avoid this or run away. And he basically tells her, like, I don't want you in my life. I don't want anything to do with you. I wish you would just disappear, kind of thing. And it's just so devastating. So she basically kind of goes on a food bender. I mean, she's got major like issues with food and, you know, a eating disorder. So she basically binges and has a ton of food and is throwing it all up. She's drinking, she's taking pills. And her mom walks in and sees it, and she's like, what the fuck is all this food? What did I tell you? You're supposed to be losing weight. And she's like so disgusted with her. And she's like, I'm sorry, Mom, you know, like crying. And the things her mother says to her is so fucking cruel. And how like, she's like, well, fix it. Like, you know, be like, earn the fact of being my daughter for once in your life. Like, you're fucking best, kind of thing. It's just devastating. And she, after her saying that and leaving, her hearing that constantly going on in her head, you know, then hearing Xander's things he said to her in her head, and it's in her head, she basically has what she calls the fog, which it's like that urge that takes over her to cut herself. And so she basically tries to kill herself. She cuts her wrists badly. And I think she does it vertically too, which is like the really dangerous way to like fastest way to go. And so she literally cuts both her wrists and is like passing out. Before she did that, she basically texted Xander about how she wished they were never friends. That he was always her safe place when they were younger, that she could go to with her issues with her mom, and that he was like her sounding board and a comfort to her. And then like he just took that away. And so it's just very emotional. She also had like this little bracelet that he gave her that's like part of a star. And he gave it to her, stole it from his dad and gave it to her, but she's never even got to wear it because she knows that he would just take it away from her now. And so she basically sends that text and then slits her wrists. And that's where I'm at right now. So I don't know how Xander can redeem himself after doing that. And like, I don't really think what she did as a kid is warranted of him hating her for this long when she has such an abusive home life and she needed him. So it's pretty heavy. So I just really want to bring that up as these huge trigger warnings is like, you know, you need to be careful when reading this because there is the attempted suicide and those thoughts that can be very triggering. So anyways, I am going to finish this book and then I will follow up with you guys with my final thoughts. It's a tough one. All right, I'll see you in a bit. Hey guys, so just a quick check-in. I actually am not done with the book yet, but I think I'm about a little, like maybe 75% through. But I had to do a check-in because a lot has happened, a lot has been revealed. So the whole reason that he hated her, that Xander hated her, didn't really feel right to me. I was kind of thinking this must be just Kimberly's idea of why he doesn't like her, because it kind of seems stupid that a childhood prank would make him hate her and be so cruel for so many years. So now it is revealed why he did that. And he finally reveals it because she sent him that text. I got a text right before she tried to commit suicide. And she basically, he found her because he knew. He just had this gut feeling like something was wrong with what she said to him in the text. So he finds her where she's like bleeding out. He's freaking out. He calls, their 911 because it's in the UK. And she wakes up in the hospital and her dad's there, and it really got me emotional. I was getting really teary-eyed because her and her dad have this like beautiful moment, and he, tells her, you need to talk to me. I need to know what's going on. I should have seen this coming. I haven't been the best father. I'm absent. He's always away at work. Like, he's been a good dad to her. He's just never there. So she's kind of stuck with her mom, who's severely abusive and a freaking narcissist. So he was like devastated, and she tells him everything and how she's feeling. And she's like, I don't want to see mom. And the mother is just so fucking disgusting. She was like in the waiting room a couple times, annoyed. She's like, I have things to do. She's just horrible. She's pure evil. And the father's like knows it, and he just told her she needs to leave. So Xander actually had been waiting there a few days, but like too scared to go in and see her. So he finally goes in, and he basically tells her the truth that he never hated her. He's never meant any of the things that he said, that he said all those things because he had to push her away. Because that day when he was lost out in the woods, he actually had made his way back, coming back, and he overheard a conversation between her mother and his father. And it was an argument, and he finds out that his father is actually Kimberly's father, and that the mother and father, they had an affair. And he's been like secretly trying to keep an eye on Kimberly, but he couldn't like let it be known. So he found out that day that she was his sister. And so that's why he basically pushed her away, because he wanted her as more than a sister. And so that's why he beat himself up all the time too for his desires for her, why he was so mad at her, saying she tempted him, all this stuff, because she was actually his sister. Well, when she finally gets home, they've got like a good therapy plan set up for her. Her dad's been with her the whole time, and they get home to like a little get together party for her. And her dad like kind of knows something's up, and she doesn't want to tell her dad because here he is being there for her and she doesn't want to lose him. And so her dad is like, did Xander happen to tell you about like family stuff? And so he kind of confesses, yes, that's true. But what happened was, and he's known this whole time that she's not really his daughter, but to him, she's his daughter. And what had happened is that his wife, the evil bitch, had found out about his affair with Xander's mother. And, as a revenge, her and the other dad, like, had an affair. So, in reality, Xander is actually his son from that affair. So, it's a whole mixed up mess here. We've got, like, Kimberly's real dad is Xander's dad. And then his dad is Kimberly's dad. So, they're not really related. And so she finds that out, and she goes over there, and he's been watching her through his window the whole time because he always watches her. He always like kind of stalks her, and she lets him know the truth, and they bang it out. And then she finds out after they have right before they're gonna have sex, or maybe it was after, I can't remember. But she finds out that it was his first time and that he was a virgin. That like all him parading those girls around, like he never had sex with them, and that he was actually a virgin this whole time. So it was great to see him, but she's like not letting him off too on the way he's treated her for years. He's really hurt her and bullied her for so long when he didn't have to treat her like that. But, so now he's fully claiming her as his. He wants to go on a date. Ronan tries to come flirt with her again, and he literally pushes him off and holds her, and he's like, she's mine. So he's publicly claiming her. So it's kind of sweet. This whole family situation is a mess. I don't know how that could ever be a reality, but this is fiction, whatever. So I'm gonna dive back in, but I had to give you guys that info because I didn't see it coming. I thought the little brother was gonna be related, and he found something weird and pushed her away. I don't know. I didn't see him thinking that she was his sister. So anyways, I'm going to try and finish this. It's getting late at night, and I want to finish it tonight. So I will probably follow up with you guys in the morning because it's going to be late by the time I finish it. And I will give you my final thoughts on this book. Hey guys, just checking in here for my final thoughts on Black Knight. I did end up finishing this last night, and I did really enjoy this book. A lot more than I expected to, because Xander wasn't really my favorite in the first 3 books with the way that he treated Kimberly. But this book was so much more emotional and dealt with such darker subject matter and triggering things that I think Rina Kent really handled well. And it just kind of hit me more emotionally. I think I connect to Kimberly in a lot of ways, and so reading her story was so heartbreaking, and everything that she went through. And then you kind of have to deal with the fallout of her trying to kill herself. Was very emotional, but I think it was handled really well because Rina Kent really put a lot of value and emphasis on getting therapy, and that is a continuous process for Kimberly to kind of work on her eating disorder and depression and anxiety issues. She's continuously going to go to therapy, and so I really appreciate that. I really love it when authors make therapy and all of that part of their book. That not just being with the person you love, that's not going to do anything for your mental health. It's not going to do anything if you have an eating disorder. And so I really appreciated that part and how she handled this book. And so after she basically, she had tried to kill herself, she has to come to terms and tell her dad everything that's been going on. And I really did love that. That she finally has this heart to heart with her father. Her father was absent father, but he still loved her, and he, feels extreme guilt for what's happened. And so after that, he decides to basically take a leave from work. And he usually, like, I think he worked out of country or something, or a different, I can't remember where he worked out of. But he basically kind of puts in his notice where he needs to work in a local job so that he is there for his daughter and his younger son. So I really did love this. When you find out the reason that Xander was pushing her away and being cruel to her, it doesn't totally absolve him of everything that he's done. But it is understandable. I mean, he had overheard them have these overheard the parents have this conversation. He thought she was his sister. And Kimberly kind of is told, this, and she's freaking out. And her dad kind of like knows what's going on, and he had always known, and he lets her know, of course, that they're not brother and sister. And there's that whole complicated, which I already went over, the parent thing going on, which is a little unbelievable, but I mean, it's a book. So they finally are able to be together. I did think he should have groveled a little bit more than what he had to, but I was just so emotionally invested in them finding each other and Kimberly getting her happily ever after, because she had just struggled so much. And what was really heartbreaking was the fact that she lost her best friend through all of this, because he was always her shoulder to cry on. He was her go-to person, and when this happened and then they start being friends, it really took away her support system, and that made her home life so much more worse. So there's just so many layers to this that I really, really loved. And of course, Xander is an alcoholic, so we still have to work on that. And he kind of didn't want to acknowledge it or go to rehab. And Kimberly's worried because she's saying that he does drink too much and it's a problem. Well, they end up coming home from kind of like a date night, and his mother shows up, the one that abandoned him and left him, and he's running her down as a child, crying. She shows up, and he had kind of hated his dad and blamed his dad for this. And the reality kind of hits him, because she's basically there for money. She's kind of shaky and is asking for alcohol. She's a complete alcoholic. And she's basically been getting money from his father for years. She cheated on him and left him for, another man and all that kind of stuff. And he's been kind of paying her off. And so she wants more money. And what's amazing is the dad found out that she was there and rushed there to confront her and kick her out of the house. But this was a huge wake-up call to Xander that his mom was a pretty fucked up person, and it wasn't his dad's fault. And then also to the fact that she is a bad alcoholic and he doesn't want to end up like her. So he does end up going to the rehab and going for a couple months. So I really did appreciate that it was a kind of he needed to deal with his addiction. He went to rehab. And then you even go to the epilogue where it's further down the line, and she's still in therapy because it's an ongoing thing, trying to work through, your eating disorder and your cutting and all those kind of issues. So I really loved this. I ended up giving this a 5 stars. And I really appreciated it. I thought it was really emotional. It's not very high on the steam because it takes a long time for them to finally have sex. But I didn't really think it needed steam. I thought it was better as in a more emotional read, and of them finally finding each other. So I'm very excited for, I think it's Ronan's book next. I'm really excited because I love his character. I think he's kind of the life of the party, always has good attitude, but I think there's just so much more going on with him. So I'm very excited. So definitely would recommend this book. So far, I've been giving all the books 5 stars in this series, and I'm just really, really enjoying it. So I'm happy that I'm going back to read these. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. If you can, please like and subscribe. Let me know down below your thoughts if you've read this book. And, just show me all the support. I really appreciate it. All right, I will see you on the next one.